Hey everybody, this is Cromar with TGN, and I'm here today to talk about some more Rift Alpha 1.1 coverage. This is the test server. We're looking at buffing for the Rogue, today specifically the Assassin. Now, I don't traditionally do a lot of videos on the Assassin or the other melee specs except as a soloing build because it's so difficult, almost impossible to play a melee anything in Rift, in PvE. It's kind of like vanilla WoW in that respect, but in the last patch, the developers have put some effort into balancing things for melee, which I appreciate. So it sounds like they do have a goal to address those issues. As a result, I do want to go ahead and test then the Assassin, who has actually received a bunch of buffs in this patch. So it might actually wind up being viable. We shall see in just a moment. So my Assassin spec is full Assassin. You pretty much have to do this. The reason is our Serpent Strike. It's so powerful. You really can't give this up. Plus, there's very, very few points in here that you don't need. I suppose you could dump the stun. You could dump this Enduring Brew crap, which is a waste. And some of the stealth attacks, you know, there's a little bit. I mean, what could you get out of it? Really, you couldn't get much. There's really nothing that is even remotely close to worth the trade to losing Serpent Strike, and that's on purpose, I believe. This is just such a powerful attack. For the rest of the build, 5 Rift Stalker for the attack power bonus, and then 10 Nightblade for the 15 and 15%ers passives. Now, I've also tried a variation where I took these 5 out and put them into Melted Skin and Fire and Death Attunement, and actually resulted in a DPS drop. There's a couple of reasons. One is in order to use Melted Skin, you have to use Hellfire Blades over Virulent Poison. Virulent Poison is affected by these two talents here in the Assassin tree, so it's actually much more powerful. So it's actually a loss in DPS from your enchantments in order to force yourself to use this buff, so it's not worth it. You also gain this ability Dusk Strike, which I guess is technically a DPS gain to use it, but it's so small that it's really not a big deal. And of course you're giving up 15% attack power, which is so it's not worth it. You definitely want to keep this build like this, 51-10-5. Now you might be thinking, well, why not go Sabo and get the 15% dexterity? Not a bad idea. I think this will probably work out pretty well for you, but the reason attack power is going to give you more DPS is that attack power, remember, is not just from dexterity. You also get attack power from all of the other stats on your gear, like the strength on your gear, or the ones that actually have attack power built in, or my rune shards that I have in my gear, which gives me plain attack power. My trinket, which gives me plain attack power. My greater planar essence gives me attack power. Now, granted, this is a pre-made character, but you know your gear is going to look something like this, and you're going to have all this attack power that's just not affected by the dexterity talent. Now, the dexterity talent will give you extra crit, but it's not a lot, and in the end, I think that this attack power buff wins out. Now, I'm open to suggestions if people want to show me actual data and tests that shows that I'm wrong. I'm definitely open to that. If you can show me that, I will actually be very grateful, and we'll do a follow-up video, but for now, this is going to build for me. Now, this build also gives you Plane-Bound Resilience, which is 42 more Endurance. That's extra health, so your healers will appreciate that quite a bit, and then you also get Shadow Shift for jumping out of danger in raids. Is very useful, so I think that really helps push Rift Stalker over the edge. So for the rotation, your attacks are basically going to be, you're using Savage Strike, where is it here? Savage Strike, Serpent Strike, and lastly Backstab in succession. Now, Backstab now has a 6-second cooldown, so it's not just spammed, it's actually used in between Savage Strikes. So you want to macro that together, and I'll show you my macro in a second. It's really simple. And then you also have Puncture, which you want to work in there, and then you want to maintain Baneful Touch. You can maintain the buff from Baneful Touch, and then you want to maintain the dot from Impale. Maintain this dot at all times. And then, you know, your other finishers will just be Final Blow. So it's a very simple rotation. Now, if you were to manage those 3 skills separately, it might make it a little more complicated. So if you just want to do that for fun, you can certainly do that. This is the macro I'm using at the moment. This other one you saw is just from a different version of the build I was testing. But this is the attack macro I'm using. Really simple. Cast Serpent Strike, cast Backstab, cast Savage Strike, excuse me. And that's going to cause the abilities to be used in succession. So I'll show you here. Just for fun, I think I'll open with a Jagged Strike. And then a Puncture. And then I'm going to do a Baneful. And then I'm going to press my attack macro over and over again until I get 5 combo points. And I'm going to do Impale. And then Puncture's up, so let's do a Puncture. Attack, attack, Final Blow. And now you've seen the whole rotation. I'm just going to keep an eye on my debuff for Impale, keep an eye on my buff for Baneful, 5 combo points, Final Blow. You know, then I'll probably have to refresh this Impale pretty soon. It's time for Puncture. There you go. There's also one cooldown you have to use, Poison Malice, so it uses every time it's up. It just gives you a bonus to your poison, so it's obviously something you want to use. Let me just spend these combo points here so I don't have to be confused by that. Now I think when I actually do my real test, I'm going to use Jagged Strike, but keep in mind that you might not always be able to use Jagged Strike to open the fight. You know, it depends on where you are, what you're doing. Sometimes you get put in combat too early and you don't get to open with a good stealth attack. Okay, so let's begin the test. Okay, and that does it for the test. Now, before I go into the results, I forgot to mention one thing in the lead up, and I remembered it while I was doing the test. I forgot to mention Slip Away. This is your Vanish, and it takes you out of combat, allows you to do another opener. So what I did was I waited until after Jagged Strike wore off, did a Slip Away, did another Jagged Strike. Not only for the many cheap combo points, but also because Jagged Strike is a really powerful dot. So that is why I did that. It's actually a DPS, major DPS increase. After all, Slip Away doesn't cost you anything. So now for results. Huge result, 801 DPS. So yes, Assassin did clear 800. That's so awesome. The Marksman was like low 700s or low to mid 700s. So this is a really impressive result. Assassin, the buffs are, well, there you go. The Assassin buffs are serious. Assassin is now a real contender. Now, Assassin's actually always been a good DPS build. Now I've been fibbing a little bit in saying that, but the problem is that before Tryon started taking an interest in balancing melee, it didn't matter how much DPS it did because you were just going to be dead the whole fight. But now, with them making this strive towards melee friendly fights, I think that there's finally a place for the Assassin. So something to consider. Now, I'm still going to use Marksman because Marksman is so simple, and I prefer things that are not challenging because I'm a noob like that. But I'm still going to consider Assassin if I ever do say, hey, what the hell, let's do some melee, and then I'll keep this build in mind. Now we're going to test the Blade Dancer. That should be fun. But yeah, that's the Assassin for you. 801 DPS with this set of gear. It's a very clear result, so I'm real happy about it. Anyway, so again, the spec was 51 Assassin, 10 Nightblade, and 5 Riftstalker. So there you go. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. This is Cromar with TGN.